morning, everyone. Welcome back to World Class Inventors. This is video number 35 in the series. And I'm going to do this little video for one of my subscribers, Preston McIntosh. And it has to do with non-disclosure agreements. He wants to know, even though you only have a provisional, should you go and seek out a company in which to hopefully enter into a license agreement with under the protection and the guise of a non-disclosure agreement? Now, a non-disclosure agreement falls under the category of a contract. So if it's breached or if it's violated, it would fall under the tort system where you deal with contracts and you would go to court for that, whether it would be superior court or state court. But it's certainly not going to be under the mandate of the United States Code where it is a federal question. So it's not a federal district court type of matter. However, it is a court-bound matter if the situation isn't resolved. So watch what I'm going to say here. Odysseus, in the Greek mythology of the Odyssey, he's sailing somewhere in the Mediterranean or the Aegean Sea, and the Trojan War is coming up, and he wants knowledge, and he hears this siren afar off on a little island. It's called the Song of the Siren. You see, the Song of the Siren pulls men in, and because it is so enticing, it actually can make us make mistakes, and they can be deadly mistakes. And that's what that entire mythological story is referencing. And the Greeks were brilliant doing this. So an NDA is kind of like a Song of the Siren. You're going to sign it with a would-be potential manufacturer distributor. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. It's not going to be violated. They're going to finally, fall in love with your product. You're going to be building prototypes. You're going to be doing marketing plans and consumer analysis, and eventually you're going to launch your product with them. They're going to be fair with you, and you're both going to make a lot of money. See, that's how things in life would work if you're dealing with honorable people. The fact of the matter is, as inventors, we are tiptoeing through a minefield. If your idea is valuable or extremely lucrative, it kind of brings out the worst in people. Not necessarily you. It'll bring out the worst in you because you're going to be impatient and you're like this thoroughbred racehorse and you can't wait to get going and you can't wait to get out of the starting gate. I understand that. I've lived with that. But what it does is it brings out the greed in other people and corporations that are nameless, faceless, have attorneys, have huge war chests for litigation compared to you, and they'll try to wrestle it from you. Now, how do I know that? Well, I went through it with Allied Signal and Honeywell when I invented my disruptive billion-dollar idea annually. They violated a proprietary information agreement, which is, I think, the next level higher than just a simple vanilla non-disclosure agreement. And then they went on to violate a 4-page trade secret agreement. And there was one line in there that they inadvertently put in, and I used it to my benefit, and their ball of yarn unraveled because of something they put in there. And it had to do with the time that this contract would cover us. Now, I went to court under a federal question. So I had enough federal questions in there, meaning U.S. code, USC 35, that I did my battle in federal district court. But I'm digressing here. The point is this. I know you have the bit in your mouth and you want to run. I know you have the idea. Maybe you've done the prototypes. Maybe you've done some of the things that I've discussed, did market analysis, surveys, trend waves, all that sort of thing, to know that if you even have something and you know that your product works and you know it would be a big seller. So you want to get going, you want to do it before you get a patent, and patents are like stop signs. And I'm talking about the non-provisional ones with the real drawings, the real specification, and above all, the claims. And those claims can be broad-based, which casts a huge net of protection, or they can be very specific, which gives you just a certain amount of protection. Regardless of that, patents are very, very hard to get. I'm in the battle of my life right now with the patent examiner, and I don't happen to agree whatsoever with the prior art that this examiner has cited against me. And that's why I've kind of cooled it on the videos, because I'm not in the video making mood or mode until I get a yay or a nay. And this thing could drag out for many, many more months. So I'm forcing myself to do this video because people are watching my channel, and I'm very indebted for that. So anyway, patents, non-provisional patents, are calling cards. It wraps up your idea. It wraps up your claims. It gives you a monicum of protection. It's not bulletproof, trust me, and I'll get into all this. I'm talking on this subject way ahead of time because of Preston. Patents are important for the little guy. It gives you some protection. It gives you a calling card. It gives you credibility. And it lets the manufacturer or the retailer that you want to do business with, lets them know that, hey, you've thought this thing out and you beat them to the punch at their own game. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. Don't put all your trust in your provisional patent, which basically it's just an encapsulation of an idea. There's no claims, and it expires in a year if you don't follow it through with the non-provisional. Don't get all cocky because you have filed your idea with the government. All you've done is just registered your idea, filed it with the government, and a year's time, if you don't follow it up with a non-provisional with the claims, then your idea evaporates, and anybody who's checking out the database, and there are people who monitor this, much like foreclosures and tax sales, if they're smitten by your idea, they're just going to go ahead and file a provisional themselves and possibly follow it up with a non-provisional. The point that I'm trying to say here is this. Don't put your trust fully in these instruments such as patents, trademarks, that sort of thing, because they can be violated. And your only recourse is to send them a cease and desist, and they're going to tell you to stick it up your rear end, and we'll see you in court. So now you're going to court. So this whole tiptoe through the minefield is to get your product out there and not to get it stolen, not to get it infringed upon, and not totally depending on these written documents that everybody tells you is so great to have. It's really, it's really a fool's errand to be a small-time inventor. But if you can pull it off and you don't get sucked into the vortex of a lawsuit and you don't get stolen from, it's the only surefire way I know of, other than buying real estate and becoming a landlord and doing a real estate pyramid, of which I know a lot about, but I've never done, because I sold real estate for 22 years as a licensed real estate agent, straight commission. But I saw what tenants did to houses, and I didn't want any part of that. So maybe that was foolish, maybe it wasn't. But my ticket to becoming a 10-cent millionaire was through intellectual property. Now, I'm working on a patent that I feel is very valuable, very lucrative. And I don't know if I'm going to get it. But at this stage in the game, I'm not contacting anybody, and I'm not going out there per se and trying to hawk my idea, and depending on a non-disclosure agreement or a proprietary information agreement to cover myself. Because one thing I did learn in real estate, and I saw it firsthand because I peddled real estate in New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, where lawyers were involved on both sides of the deal. So you had surveyors, you had lawyers, you had title companies, and you had home inspectors. And these deals were very rankus. They were very controversial at times. There was a lot of subterfuge before we would ever get to the closing. But one thing my real estate taught me is that contracts are written to be broken. So don't be putting your trust in all these things. The best way that you can eliminate the downside is to be patient. I was very impatient, but I held back. I didn't talk to anybody until I got the non-provisional patents granted to me. And that's my advice to you. Collect your trade secrets, do your prototypes, do your provisional patent, follow it up with a non-provisional patent with the claims. Set up the chessboard with the highest degree of protection you can. And then when you go to market it to these people, I have a lot more to say about that as you go. And it all has to do with witness verification and recording your meetings, sending letters, and following it up so that you develop a paper trail so that you can show, if it ever got that far, and God help you if it does, because it's terrible, that you can show in a court of law that they violated these documents. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to show you that being an inventor and becoming a millionaire is like paddling out in the biggest surf you can imagine. It's like what just went on in Hawaii at the Eddie Aikau surfing contest in Waimea Bay. And that wave is brutal and it's big and it doesn't really break that well. It closes out. Anyway, inventing is a lot like surfing in big surf. It's dangerous. There's no guarantees. But if you make it, if you can ride the big one, the outsider, it is the thrill of a lifetime. And it might just get you to where you're going. So that's all I have to say on the topic for now. There's much more to come, and I will go in depth into this. And I did this way out of order, but I did it for one of my subscribers that I've been talking to in the comment section. Okay, you all have a great day. And as always, God bless each and every one of you, because that's what it's all about. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.